But let's get going with Dan Quinn, shall we? Let's start with Jayden Daniels, the big story in town this week. We react in real time as best we can to press conferences, to audio, to the clips that everybody else is hearing. Oftentimes, we're hearing them at the same time on the air. Yesterday, we had the luxury of hearing DQ's presser in the afternoon, an hour or two before we talked about it on the show. So you get to do a little bit of thinking of how you want to discuss what he said. But last night, because I'm one of these people whose work is also my fun, is also my pleasure, is also my passion. I love sports. I love DC sport. Commanders are the team I care about. I find myself rewatching the presser and looking for body language and things. And I find myself always thinking more and more about what he said, how he said it. I don't think Dan Quinn's making the decision that Jayden Daniels shouldn't be playing. And when I came to that realization, I thought, does that just seem too conspiracy theory-ish? Should I not go hard in the paint with that on air? Does that seem like I'm just looking for something? Because you always have that voice in the back of your head of what the one guy is going to yell from Section 314.
Sure.
I can't get past the fact that every single time Dan Quinn has talked about playing Jayden Daniels, he has referenced how important it is for him to be out there, and he has said that he's going to be out there. And then all of a sudden yesterday, the tone completely changed. I think it's either Peters or ownership, but somebody above Dan Quinn basically going, I'll be the adult in the room, stepped in and said, he's not playing. And I'm not even saying Dan Quinn fights them on it or has an issue with it or that he's being held hostage to have to go out and have the press conference. I just think because of them having been eliminated maybe, because now you're 3-10, because he came back and he left another game with a problem, because you're once again in the training room now with this elbow, I think they're taking the decision out of the coach's hands and it's going up the ladder. Which I'm not even saying if that's happening is a problem, by the way, but I do think that is taking place.
Is it committee or is it edict? In other words, is this dictated? Is this, hey, Dan, stop by my office? This is what's happening. Get along. Or is it, hey, what do you think about it? Collaborative? You know what I mean? Like, I think that matters to me. It may not to some.
I think Dan Quinn sees things the way Adam Peters sees things a lot. I think that's part of why he became the head coach. I think it's Adam Peters' show, for better or worse, and most of the time I think that's for better. But I think it's one of those where if it's Peters, he says, hey, man, here's what I'm thinking. Right now we have the 6th pick. I mean, they might even talk about the draft, but this is all part of it. We've lost 8 in a row. We've been eliminated. This thing is over, Johnny. It is time to see what Jordan McGee looks like with the green dot. It is time to see what Ben Sinnott looks like with 7-8 targets. It is time to throw that screen that we were going to throw to Zach Ertz to Colson Yankoff, who's more athletic and has more speed and space. And maybe part of that conversation is, all right, let's get to item number 6 on the list. That's Jayden Daniels' health. Let's talk about Jayden Daniels. And I think in that conversation, DQ goes, sure, yep, no problem. Yeah, okay, that makes sense to me. So if that's a combo decision, sure. I don't know that it's an edict. I don't think he's fighting it. I don't think he's pushing back.
Yeah.
Maybe it's ownership. I don't know if they call Dan or they call the GM, but I just think somebody goes, I'm throwing in the towel on whatever this is. Now, if a week from now we find out that he was just out against the Giants and he's going to play again, which I'm betting still is very possible, that maybe this is a 1-week thing, then my little tinfoil hat theory here doesn't have a whole lot of credibility, legitimacy, whatever. I'm spitballing and it didn't land and stick on the wall. But if he's done for the year, I don't think Dan Quinn driving to the facility with the Hard Knocks camera next to him on 267 just went up to the toll booth, threw a quarter in and said, I think it's time to shut Jayden down. I think somebody above him with more power said, it's time to shut Jayden down. And he said, no problem. Fine with that. I think that's how it went.
Yeah, because coaches don't do that. Coaches are this play this week, this afternoon, right? They don't do long-term by their nature, and that's probably right. You're trying to win that role.
Which, by the way, we always have said, especially when they had the coach and the GM in the same role in that fiasco of Rivera era, this is how it should work.
Correct.
The coach should be doing everything he can to beat the Giants on Sunday, and the GM, when you're eliminated, now-ish, should be saying, hey, let's make sure we're positioning ourselves really, really well for 26 and beyond. And the owner probably is in the business of both. If you're Josh Harris, you want butts and seats. which they're not going to have enough of, by the way, in their final couple of home games.
Right.
What's Christmas Day going to look like against Dallas? How many Cowboys fans as opposed to Commanders fans will be at that stadium?
It'll be a lot.
What's that Eagles game going to look like with that quick trip down 95 with Philly maybe clinching a division or whatever that the circumstance will be that day? But you care a little bit about the product right now because you're trying to get people to come to the stadium and sit in those seats because you're trying to raise these prices or those prices. So it can't look terrible in the moment, but you're also worried about the long-term health. The GM, I think, is multitasking, but more prioritizing 26. Dan Quinn on his desk, there's 1,400 sheets of paper. They all say New York Giants. That's all he can worry about.
Right, and I think that's how the rules should be siloed. I think to your point, the way I think of this is, I'm writing my draft. I'm writing the draft that this is what happened. I'm not going to publish it yet because I still think he's playing next week.
I do too.
And so then what do we mean? That, you know what I mean? Then was it just the conversation came from on high that he's not playing this week, or then I have a harder time seeing that process?
So here's what I'm saying. If they're shutting him down, I think it came from above. That's all I'm saying.
I agree with that.
And yesterday it sounded to me like for the first time they were shutting him down. Now I'm 51% sure that he plays next week. What is the difference between that and not being sure? It's the same thing. And if he plays next week, then okay, no harm, no foul. It was a week where they just were extra precautionary because his elbow was sore. He dislocated it recently. You're playing on the worst turf where there are the most injuries in the league. There's plenty of reasons to just say we'll try again next week. But if he gets shut down, my working theory is somebody stepped in and said, we're good now. We've seen enough. Thanks.
Which I think is correct. So again, that's why I say I'm writing the draft of that column at this point where I'm going, if he doesn't play again, ... it was a, whatever you want to call it, adult in the room, a higher power stepped in and said, no more. I don't care about what should be. Here's what is. He's getting hurt every time he plays. We got to figure something else out. Whoever that's on, our whole new process. We need a whole new process. He can't handle it. We can't handle it. You can't handle it. No one, it's not about blame right now. But the fact is it's happening. We can't do this anymore for a lost season. And yes, it's Johnny Newton time. Yes, it's Jordan McGee time. Yes, it's Kane Madrano time. Anybody that you have, not that many young players on this roster, by the way, that are worth anything, but it's time to see what those guys have. I think that's the most reasonable explanation. But my fear is the wrong word because I'm not like afraid of it. You know what I mean? But my suspicion is, or my working theory is, I actually haven't well, let me get back to it. I don't think I have a good explanation for what happened this week because I do think he's playing next week. This is going to be mysterious to me throughout.
Well, now, if he's playing next week, so let's just take that for a second and say that's what happens. That next week, like he practices limited all week. Then next Wednesday, he's full, and he goes against Philadelphia in the first of the two Eagles games. Then I think what happened when we look back will be he was sore, and they decided, based on that soreness, based on the turf, whatever else there is with the Meadowlands, but the elbow is the priority here. The fact that people want to use re-aggravated, re-injured, to me, if you re-aggravate a dislocated elbow, it means you dislocated it again. So it's all semantics, but you landed really hard on a thing that got hurt, and it's sore right now. You know who else is really sore? Justin Herbert.
Yeah, the football players are.
Everybody's sore who's dealing with pain. Baker Mayfield, barely playing through a shoulder injury, super sore. They're all going to go play because these are important games. Like, I do believe, knowing nothing, but based on just reading the transcripts and watching the press conferences and guessing as best I can, I believe that if they were playing for a playoff spot on Sunday, Jayden Daniels would play. I think this is we're 3-10. He's sore. There's not much more needed than that. It's not like a new sore, by the way. It's not like his toe is sore. It's he
landed funny on blank. Yeah.
Because the thing that we were so worried about for a month, we're now a little worried about again. But I don't think he hurt versus injured is the words that we use. He's in pain, which is hurt. He's not injured again. And so that's what I think is happening. EB went to the extreme with this, I would say, today. I saw one of the clips that 106.7 The Fan posts about this, and he basically said they're babying him. He's got a boo-boo. Like, I'm not saying that, okay? I have no idea what the elbow injury is, but I think what he's getting at in a extreme way is he landed on it, and he's sore, and he's feeling some pain, and they're saying you're not going to play with a thing that, like, Marcus Mariota would probably play with this weekend. Or if Jayden Daniels made the call, Jayden Daniels would just go out and play with this weekend. That's what I think is happening, probably. Unless, my theory here, if they are actually shutting him down and they're just not going to say it till next week, but we saw the first of a few press conferences that lead to that. If that's the path, there's two of them here, then maybe somebody stepped in and said, no more, we're good.
One, just a quick side. Oh my God, whatever this is. Again, we're doing it. We're doing decoder rings and interpretations on injuries, and we're distinguishing between, I'm not blaming you, injured and hurt and sore and aggravated. Like, whatever this is needs to end.
Time is a flat circle.
I'm so sick of it. I'm re-sick of 2012 again.
What's annoying more so than that we did this in 2012 is that we've been doing it for 13 weeks this year.
Yeah, enough.
What people outside of this market don't understand about how exhausting and terrible this year has been, in addition to the fact that they're 3-10 and they've lost 8 in a row. His first injury was in week 2.
Yeah.
And it was like a soft week 2. It was Thursday night football. So this was, by the way, 4 days after the season opener that he got hurt for the first time and was getting MRIs, and everyone's screaming at us because we're talking about that he's probably going to miss time and we're crazy. And then he missed some time. That was week 2, like days before the second Sunday of the season. Since that moment, this routine, this dog and pony show, this hamster wheel, we've been on this damn thing all year.
Yeah.
So if you're ready to get off of it, you ain't wrong.
Right.
I'm really ready to get off.
I'm ready to end this ride. Where's that guy with a mustache and a mullet that's running the ride? Just shut it off, buddy. Let me walk out of these teacups.
In the parking lot of a mall.
Yeah. So that's number one. That's the quick side. But number two, I guess where I was trying to go with this is there's still some mystery about this to me. If we're doing the if he plays next week scenario, right? Where it went from he could have gone back into the game and we said no to we're ruling him out right now to yeah, he's fine. Good to go. In a short matter of time, and it's about this week, which I think still is strange. Because that doesn't match the rhetoric of anybody, anytime, anywhere, whatever, it doesn't matter. These games are so important. You go from that to that turf up there is nasty. Like, that doesn't feel like them. Feels like me. I could talk about that. Like, but they don't live in my world.
That's not Dan Quinn.
Right. That's not Dan Quinn. That's
not the way he's done it all year.
It's not their rhetoric. So there's
anybody, anytime, anywhere, unless you have some pain in your elbow and you're playing on turf where people have gotten hurt.
Yeah, and we're 3-10, and everything's a disappointment. If he doesn't play next week, I'll go, oh, I got it. They had a conversation. They went, yeah, this is empty. This doesn't matter. He can't stay healthy, period. If he does play next week, this week's going to be the head scratcher for me as to how we got here. If he's still sore and bothered Friday, can't practice in full, can't do all the things, I go, oh, yeah, I get that. We got a lot of experience at dealing with key player injuries and asking for updates and not really getting them and reading the tea leaves. But this was a ruled out, the first chance we could rule him out, not even leaving it up to recovery or debate. This is not happening this week, period, end of story, when the last data point we had was, yeah, he could have played. And then he plays next week, that won't jive with me. That won't square is the way I'd phrase it.
Let me be clear. If ownership said, I don't want him to play anymore this year, I don't have a big problem with that. It's their team and their player, and they are doing something to protect the investment big picture, right? This is not like them telling Dan Quinn he's got to start a certain quarterback. I don't think it's the same thing. They're saying, you're so close to this, I'm further back, and I can see that you've lost sight of something that I can see. Now, I don't even agree with the take that he shouldn't play again, but I wouldn't have a problem if that's what happened. Similarly with not Josh Harris, but with Adam Peters, the GM level, if he's doing this from above and saying, hey, I've seen enough, throwing in the towel here, let's make sure he's ready for the offseason. Again, I disagree with that logic. I have no problem with that. That's just like the owner has a role. That's his job. He's supposed to do that. If Dan Quinn is advocating that he should play because he needs the reps because he's not playing well enough and he needs more time with his teammates on the field, I have no problem with that. That's the coach's job. I don't think anybody's doing anything wrong. I'm just saying the observation that I don't know that I made strong enough yesterday when I go back and read and listen to everything is for him to have changed so suddenly, so intensely, so severely, the way he's talking about whether or not he plays is so strange to me that it seems like it came from a different place. It just seemed like somebody else is involved.
Yeah, there's a before and after. There's an intervention. Again, it sounds like we're talking about an addict. I don't even mean it that way, but there's a moment where here's the course we're on. You stop that course. What stopped it? Was it Peters? Was it Harris? Was it a combination therein? Was it a discussion among the other coaches? I have no idea, right? Where we go, we can't keep doing this. And then that clearly moved to the, hey, we're not doing it this week. And now, again, the next week, the proof will be in the pudding. Because if it's now multiple weeks, I go, okay, there's, to be pretty clear now, there's an intervention, they're shutting him down. But if he plays next week, then, again, that's harder for me to sort of reconcile.